Christina Universe Citizen presents New Era Religion, Episode 50, Part 1, May 23rd, 2022. Misnomers, Supplant, and Superficially Suffice. Based in personal experience, from our individual inceptions and conceptual awareness of the world in which we exist, is the living proof's ongoing evidence that something of profound essentiality to our evolutionary, conscious, coexisting, inter-stabilization, integrity, environmental requirement is missing. Consequently, the least economic way of behaving relative to unity and self in universe on Earth cannot seem to get underway, while the least intelligent concern for our humanity by humans of a mind continues. A disturbing sense of this self-other perpetuating absence of forethought involving widespreading educated ignorance of what this missing conceptioning is, instead manifest personalized displacement regardless where one happens to live. The experience of this is a disturbing thought, especially since it is the consciously coordinating systemic thoughts accurately referenced language by metaphysical minds' generalized conceptioning in the universal communications process that is missing. Yet, metaphysical generalized conceptioning fields of thought are critical to local problem solving as the intellectually discerning observer of the reenacting articulations coexists with others of a like or unlike mind. This relates to remoteness that is no longer way over there somewhere, but is as technologically and conceptually local as the sound and air displacement waves we are not consciously aware of, individually regenerating. Synergetics 505.33. Consequently, the inherent frustrations we individually experience as humanity survives the ravages of warring environments in displaced population numbers seems least likely to be relevant to omniconsiderate synergetic solutions, whereat metaphysical intellect is a function of generalized universe and for the most part is unknown. Instead of learning more about comprehensive universe, which combines the physical and the metaphysical, people expect solutions to be generated by politics, religion, justices, belief complex schemes. This is happening even though the acronym PRJWBCS, politics, religion, justice, war, belief complex schemes, likewise are least known, resulting as great homage paid to personality disorders of the elected and self-authorized dictators of the world. The offenses continue to do what is expected of and attributable to that mentality. Paying special tributes to the self-serving PRJWBC schemes also continues as the once trusted news media latches onto any tidbit of defamatory value in exaggerated and misleading headlines for further propagating aberrant devised episodes of the problematic scenario. We have inherited the problematic scenario slave mentality conditioning as the misplaced emphasis and popularized misnomers are resorted to for dealing with a fear-engendering detrimental environment. As such, humans imagine escaping to another planet could be the cure. This inclination to escape intolerable living environments might intuitively motivate searching anywhere imaginable as a self-satisfying escape mechanism that could be aligning with the mind of that distant planet, despite that the travel time would be impossible to reach in our lifetime. with respect to longing for an improved environmental condition, the intuitive quest for self-discovery of the supremacy of the metaphysical seems to be without consciously knowing that symmetry is metaphysical, equilibrium is metaphysical, a conceptuality is metaphysical, and that reality is metaphysically conceptualized information, as we can read in Synergetics 326.40. So the metaphysically conceptualized information that we gather as a local problem solver is transmitted through our physical senses. Yet, adjustments of the a priori thought can be to a total reality of universal principles, which literally and technically require awareness of the generalized universe's generalized principles. Assumption that the metaphysical generalized conceptioning fields of thought closely correlate to pattern cognizance is unique to our 21st century self-other awareness, while initially it became known and developed in the 20th century by R. Buckminster Fuller, that the brain's data storing functions throughout the discontinuity of conscious thought that otherwise may not have been misdirected by corruptions of the readily adaptive mentality from birth anywhere humans exist on Earth, presently portrays the human-devised malfunctioning technologically distinctly, albeit illogically circumventing the real problems and solutions. It provides physical evidence for pinpointing the dilemma, although suggesting the solution is out there on another planet may have some element of truth in it. The most economically devised solutions rely on differentiating the physical from the metaphysical while accrediting the metaphysical mind's transcendence of the physical. In this proclivity, it seems wiser to rename the sound word God, lowercase, God, uppercase, in any translation of any spoken or written language on earth, as I already have done. The eternal omniscient mind, Yom, complementary to metaphysical generalized conceptioning, as cosmically responsible realizable potential, clarifies that corruptions from the cradle of civilization emanate from that womb of permitted ignorance. The slave mentality of it satisfies the inadequate inquiry of erroneously subjective curiosity, and in that process positioned the domineering tyrannical personalities in control of human populations to ever-worsening degree. The more subconsciously, ignorantly fearful cautionaries rule by fear engendering, the greater the reason to initiate more accurately activating referential fields. All those punitory threats render humans in seemingly inescapable realities where powerful weapons are pointed at the human populations, enabling the tyrants to further its suppressively, repressively, falsely, supremely reign. Still, most of us are subconsciously enmeshed in the world's relative insanity, while indirectly entangled in the corruptibility of the physical, which from birth is a helpless start, but from the consciously tuned-in proclivity to comprehend the generalized universe, this mental alacrity individually initiates awareness by the metaphysical mind's transcendence of the physical. As Bucky Fuller clarifies this potential insight, correlative to omnicomprehensive outlooks, directionally is, in quotes, brain to mind equal physical to metaphysical, end quote. The difference is the ability to generalize concepts and to recognize that brain performs data storage functions, whereas mind performs pattern discerning functions. So as we recall that metaphysical intellect is a function of comprehensive universe, intellect admits this must consciously include awareness of generalized universe. In turn, the information-gathering, local problem-solving mind, systemic thought, self-validates the comprehensive universe as a combination of its own metaphysical and physical inherent communication proficiencies. Perhaps discontinuity of self-consciously productive thought occurs as otherness, destructive thought interferes with the continuity of conscious life, potentially becoming the variously enacting personalities as products of complex periodic interactions become entangled in the interrelationships when competition, jealousy, and distrust overwhelm self and the other's coping mechanisms. If so, the evolution environment invites self and others' conflicting personality aspects into the interrelating scenario episode, causing contradictory objectives to surface and resurface. In every case, the motivating objectives of potentially constructive thought subject self and the other to survival conditions. During the writing process, intellect deciphers what might not otherwise be interceptive according to a more comprehensive interpretation. Take the words in effect as what is only imaginably in effect universe's eternal omniscient mind, Yom, differentiating cosmic integrity into a time-distance differentiated plurality of limited local metaphysical intellectual experiences as posited in Synergetics 311.18. It can be integrally with which to test the capability of Yom to reintegrate and restore its timeless zero-phase unity. Not only must this not be confused with the PRJWBCS God uppercase, God lowercase, gods, as it has been and continues to be, the self-other deluding conformity, we can wonder about other words with the suffix syllable ECT, correlating to the motivating, potentially constructive, destructive self and the other, most economical way of behaving, relative to unity in self and universe, as the domain's conditional survival. Some example words ending in ECT in the subjective to objective process: connect, deselect, detect, dissect, effect, elect, expect, interject, object, reject, select, subject. Interpersonal communications in human relationships effect self-validation and self-invalidation, influencing evolving awareness and self-identity. Reacting observers to otherness behavior results in degrees of discontinuity of conscious thought. It can relate to least troublesome adjustments of the a priori thought and a sense of self to the most troublesome predictability, correlating to trespass on and survival of the inherently inviolable integrity of the individual. Illogically, a great many humans assume the religion God in a human likeness is the final punitory judge. The imaginable entity as a divinity emanates from the apex of the PRJWBCS hierarchical inherited detriment. It delays consciousness evolution from comprehensively selecting accurately more adequate information, alternative experiences. To be continued in episode 51, part 2. Thank you.